Welcome to Podcasting in the Classroom. In this video, we'll take a look at how to get started with creating a podcast. I'll make sure you know where to configure your audio hardware in Audition, how to record your voice, and then I'll show you a couple of effects to help you clean up your audio and get it sounding podcast worthy. Audition is already open, and the first thing I want to do is create a new multi-track session. To do that, I'll go to File, New, Multi-track session. I'm just going to call this Podcast 1. Mine is saving to my desktop, so be sure you browse to a save location that you can easily locate. And then make sure that I select my podcast template. I'll click OK, and here's my multi-track session. The first thing I want to do is show you where to find the audio hardware preferences. You get there by going to Adobe Audition Preferences, Audio Hardware. Here you can then select your default input and your default output, which is especially important and useful if you're using an external microphone, as I am. Now, to start recording, we first have to select the input for the track. I want to record on my host track, and then this rightward facing arrow is for my input. Right now it's set to none, but if I click it, I can go to mono and select my Scarlett Input 1. I'm recording mono because I'm recording one voice on one channel. I also have to tell the track that I'm ready for it to be recorded on. And to do that, I will push my little R indicator right here. And you'll also note that my levels bar is popping up now as well. I also have a larger version of that down here, which I can activate by just double clicking. Now remember that when working with audio, 0 is actually really loud, so it's louder than -3. And if you see your levels start to pop up here to 0 and they turn red, that means you're clipping your audio and it's causing an audio distortion. So definitely avoid that. I'm now ready to record, and all I need to do is push my red button down here to start my recording, and then when I am done, I will just click it again to stop. Let's give that a try. Welcome to Podcasting in the Classroom. This week, we're talking to Sarah Hodgson about oracy in teaching. Let's get started. All right, so let us go ahead and listen to this. Welcome to Podcasting in the Classroom. This week, we're talking to Sarah Hodgson about oracy in teaching. Let's get started. All right, so that's not terrible, but there is a little bit of noise happening there. There's a breath, and there's just overall some things that we can do to make this sound better. To do that, I want to take us to the waveform view, so I will just double click my waveform, and it'll take us right to the waveform view. The first thing I want to do is normalize my audio. Normalizing means I'm setting a peak level for my waveform, and then everything will adjust according to the peak level I've set. To do that, we'll go to Effects, Amplitude and Compression, Normalize. And I want to go ahead and set everything to -3 dB. I'll apply that. You'll see that our waveform grew. The next thing I want to do is use a noise gate to do a noise reduction. I also need my amplitude statistics panel for that. Mine is already open. If yours is not, just go to Window and hit Amplitude Statistics. I'm going to go ahead and scan everything. And the number I want to pay attention to right here is the average RMS amplitude, which is showing up as -36 dB. We'll use that number in just a second. So let's get to that noise gate. This time we're going to use the effects rack. I'll click on my little triangle here and I will go to amplitude and compression and then dynamics. I have several options here, but the one I'm interested in is this auto gate or noise gate. What this does is it removes noise below a certain amplitude threshold. So I'm going to check this to activate it. And then I'm going to input my average RMS amplitude. We'll just use -36 right here into my threshold. Hit enter. Now let's go ahead and listen to our waveform. Welcome to Podcasting in the Classroom. This week, we're talking to Sarah Hodgson about oracy in teaching. Let's get started. That's a pretty big difference, right? All right, let's close out of this. And the next thing I want to do is add some EQ. I'm going to put this in the effects rack as well. And what's happening here in the effects rack is that everything is stacking. So every effect that I apply is stacking, but I then have to apply it to my waveform. For EQ, I'll go ahead and hit my triangle again. I'll go to Filter and EQ and Parametric Equalizer. What EQ does is allows you to select specific frequencies and turn them up or down. I'm just going to go ahead and use my Vocal Enhancer preset, but as you can see, there are a lot of options here. Go ahead and play around with that. I also want to add some compression. So again, I'll put it in my effects rack and go to Amplitude and Compression and Dynamics Processing. I'm going to choose another preset. I'm just going to use my voiceover preset for this one. And what's happening here in compression is that this reduces the dynamic range of the audio. All right, so let me turn all these effects off and have a listen. Welcome to Podcasting in the Classroom. This week, we're talking to Sarah Hodgson about oracy and teaching. Let's get started. Let me turn everything back on. Have a listen. Welcome to Podcasting in the Classroom. This week, we're talking to Sarah Hodgson about oracy and teaching. Let's get started. Go ahead and hit apply. And I am going to go ahead and normalize this all just one more time. All right, have a final listen. Welcome to Podcasting in the Classroom. This week, we're talking to Sarah Hodgson about oracy and teaching. Let's get started. Now be sure to save your file, and that is all you need to do to get started with podcasting. As you can see, Audition has a whole lot more options and multiple ways to accomplish the same thing, so I encourage you to play around. Hi everyone, thanks for watching. Click the link in the description below to explore more free online professional development on the Adobe Education Exchange. And click the link on screen to subscribe to the channel for more videos.